Let's work on Ghost 1 of our Pumpkins and Potions quilt. It's time to work on Ghost 1 on page 25. I have the background fabric and batting. I have the ghost fabric that's been backed with fusible interfacing. And from the embellishment kit, I have the gauze that we will put as an overlay on the ghost. Let's get started. I'm in Embroidery-Ladder software, and we are going to combine Ghost 1 with the background quilting. You can open files by going to the Merge Stitch File icon. However, each time you bring a file in, you will have to go to this icon and find the file. An easier way is to open the file that you have all of your files saved, and then you can drag and drop as many as needed. I am going to open the quilting bundle. This block uses the Halloween 11 and the 4x6 vertical. When there's two 4x6, the horizontal comes first and the vertical comes second. Drag and drop that into the hoop. Now I will go back to the embroidery files folder and find Ghost 1 and drag and drop it into the hoop. Both will be centered in the hoop. I have my 5x7 hoop open, and you can see this fits perfect, and you can stitch this out in the 5x7. However, I'm going to be using my 7x12 and rotating this design. I will go up to the Preferences folder and choose my 7x12. Then I will come to the compass and select H, and that will put the whole hoop onto my screen. I will select both designs and come up to the rotate left. And when I stitch this out, I will move it to the top of the hoop as I've done before to save on Stabilizer. The other change I'm going to make is to delete the steps that I don't need. I usually will bypass the tack down of the batting because my batting will be cut to size, and I will bypass the placement for the fabric because our fabric is much larger and we don't need this step. So I will select the second step, hold down my shift key and select the third step and hit delete on my keyboard. Now I will come to File, Save Stitch File As, and I will name my design. I will save it into my Pumpkins and Potions combined files. Again, that's where I put any file that I have merged or done any changes. And I will save that, and then I will take it and add it to my USB so I can take to my machine. I will select Embroidery and go to my USB and go to my Combined Files folder. I will choose the Ghost 1 with quilting and hit Set, and then Embroidery. Now I need to move this all the way up and to the left. Remember, I have my last block attached to the top of the hoop, and so I want to scoot as far up as I can. So I can just take my finger if I want, move it up and all the way to the left. And again, I move it all the way to the left to compensate for the fact that I have a 7x12 hoop in my machine, but in the settings I have it as an 8x12 because I don't have a 7x12 listed in my machine. So here was my first attempt at the ghost. I was distracted and trying to multitask and completely forgot to trim the gauze and the fabric before I did the outline stitch. So let's try this again. I'm getting ready to place my white fabric over the ghost, and I wanted to show you what I've started doing with my light fabric. It's really hard to tell what is the right side of the fabric and what side is the fusible interfacing. So I started cutting a little corner off of the interfacing so that I can tell easily what is the wrong side. Then also, here is my gauze. I sprayed 2 coats of Best Press. I sprayed 1 coat and got it pretty wet, let it dry, then sprayed a 2nd coat and let it dry overnight, and then I ironed it to get out the wrinkles. Now you can see it's still pliable and it's like fabric. It's not stiff, but it does have some body to it. You can see that it holds up. So I think that that will work fine. The book does say to use heavy starch. However, I'm hoping that this will be okay. I laid my white fabric down and then I laid the gauze over the top. You can see I did not cut this to size, and I'm just letting the excess hang off towards the bottom of the hoop. Then I will be able to use that for my next ghost block. I had to correct something else that I did. After I cut this block off the end of the roll of stabilizer, I immediately started cutting my stabilizer close to the stitch line. Then after I got done cutting it, I realized I forgot to take the basting stitches out. So I took the basting stitches out and then cut that little bit of extra stabilizer next to the quilting line. However, this block is different than the other ones that we've done before. All of the background quilting that we've done before, we've been able to cut the stabilizer right next to the batting line to remove all of the stabilizer from the seam allowance. However, this background quilting design stitches into the seam allowance, and so we will be able to cut as close to that stitching line as we can, but it will leave about 1/8 of an inch in the seam allowance. Also, it's a little bit more difficult to cut from the back side of the block. So when I usually have the quilting that goes into the seam allowance, I will cut them from the front of the block and line up that quilting stitch with the ruler, which will be about 1/8 of an inch away.